Okay, and I'm just going to go live everywhere. Johnny?
Yes, Papa.
Okay. Hold on a second. Okay, so we're live, we're on, and we're live. Hi, everyone. It's Katryn Murray. I'm the Program and Training Director at Angelic Treasures Christian Daycare. Welcome to this segment. It's going to be supporting children through behavior with redirection. So anyone is welcome to join. It is on our Facebook, it's on our Instagram, it's everywhere. And hopefully if you guys do find that you have anything going on with your kids, if you have little ones and you'd like a little bit more information on how to support their behaviors with redirection, I'm happy to support. So our segment is actually on Zoom, where I'm able to share my screen with you and you guys can follow along with my presentation. So if anyone who is on our Instagram or on our Facebook Lives would like to participate in the Zoom, you're welcome to join. So I am just checking my connection for one. We're now live for that one too. That was a little bit tricky for our Instagram with Angelic Treasures, but everyone's on. So we're gonna get connected in a couple minutes. Just so you guys know, I am managing 2 Instagrams and a Zoom. So bear with me if you could. That would be wonderful. Anyone who's joining us on our Zoom meeting, welcome. If you could please mute yourselves and then we can support you. That would be great, just so we don't have a lot of feedback noise. And we will get started in just a couple of minutes. I can introduce you guys to Angie. She's there, and Sylvia is also there. Angie is the CEO of Angelic Treasures Christian Daycare. There's Sylvia, the COO of Angelic Treasures Christian Daycare. And like I said, I'm the Program and Training Director. I don't think I mentioned the date, which I was supposed to do. It's Wednesday, March 3rd. So my apologies. I'm still figuring out this whole thing. But like I said, we are on here supporting children through behaviors with redirection. So that's a really big part of what we do as early childhood educators. It's a really big part of how we manage children, their emotions. Like you guys know, we have large classrooms with up to 16 children in them at a time for our preschool rooms. We've got large centers with quite a few children as well. And this is something that we support our staff with. So if that's something that we do on a daily basis to support all of our teachers and the parents, it's really important that we're here for you guys in the community. So if you could let me know your kids' names, if there's any particular behaviors that you're struggling with, just so that we can keep tabs on that in the chat. I do have Sylvie and Angie. They're both muted, but they're paying attention to the chat as well. And then they can follow along. All the thumbs up are great. Follow along. I don't know if I'm able to send the Zoom link. I'm just going to try. Pardon my reach, because like I said, I've got a few things going on here. I'm just going to attempt to send the Zoom link. There we go. I just sent it on one Instagram. I'm going to attempt to send it on the other. You guys are welcome to join on it, like I said, so you can get that information. Okay, so we're just going to give everyone one more minute. Usually we start at 8:05 to really get into it. Anyone who is on our Angelic Treasures Instagram, welcome. I apologize. I'm trying to figure out this screen. I know you can see me, but it's a little bit dark. I might flip you guys to, oh, that's a little bit better on the other side, just so that it's a bit brighter. Well, as long as you guys can see me and hear me, that's the important thing. But I definitely do encourage you to come on to our Zoom meeting. Hello, our Zoom meeting, just so that you can get the information in the real hard copy form. So I'm going to be looking at my Zoom screen mostly. So apologize to Instagram. I'm looking down from you. And for this Instagram, I'm looking to the right. So we'll get started in a second, and then we'll be able to support everyone. It looks okay? Thank you. I'm glad it looks okay. Can you guys see me on the Angelic Treasures Instagram by any chance? Have you checked? Just have a look and see. Okay, so we have Tim, Angela, Diana, Ayana. Welcome back, Ayana. I recognize that name. Andrew, Ariel. Ariel, you are my constant support. Crystal, welcome, and Rashaline, welcome. Okay, so it looks like I've got quite a few people on both of our Instagram lives as well. So we are going to get started. Like I said, if you do have any concerns,
It's Sylvia.
I hear somebody. Okay, so I'm going to make sure everyone's muted. Welcome. I'm sorry, I got distracted for a quick second because I heard a voice and I didn't know where it was coming from.
Sorry, it
so
was one of the parents because their child knows me. So
Oh, okay.
I apologize.
No worries. Okay, so we're going to get started and I'm actually going to share my screen. So I'm going to go over our welcome blurb again, just so everyone knows who we are. So welcome again to this segment of supporting children through behavior with redirection. This is hosted by Angelic Treasures Christian Daycare. I am Katryn Murray. I'm the Program and Training Director of Angelic Treasures Christian Daycare, and it is my job to support and train our staff, parents, and well, our ultimate goal is just to support the community. That's really what we're here to do. So children do not come with a manual. They do not come with a wonderful book that tells us what to do with them. Every little one is such a blessing and they have such unique personalities. So I'm sure each of you know that has your own children, how unique those personalities can be. What works for one doesn't work for the other. And we're really here to help you guys and give you some tools to be able to support them through whatever behavior is going on. So before I actually share my screen, I'm just going to go through an overview with you of what we're going to be looking at. I know, look, I got papers, guys. It's not like we've got a lot to cover, but I promise it's going to be fun. These segments are meant to be very cool, very calm, interactive. You're welcome to make comments where you can. There is always a raffle at the end to win something, so stay tuned and stay on. And everyone who is on is welcome to email ATCD webinars. I'm going to type that in. I'm not going to type it in everywhere because then I'd be typing forever. So it's ATC webinars at Angelic Treasures Daycare. Oh, it stopped me from typing. Daycare.com. So if you send me an email and say, hey, Katryn, I'd love a copy of these after it's all said and done, I will send it to you so that you have the information. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go through is an overview of this whole segment. So the very first thing we do whenever we're talking about children, behavior, anything like that, we have to talk about their development. We have to have an understanding of why they're doing the things that they're doing. And when we learn about children and the developmental stages based on their age, it gives us a whole different understanding of what we need to do as parents and as guardians of these children. So we'll look for the infant development, we'll go into toddlers, preschool, and school age. I tend to stop at around school age because those are my areas of expertise. And I say expertise like lightly because we have been doing this for about 20 years and I've had a lot of children in my center, in my care, and I've supported a lot of staff with different behaviors of children. Not of staff. But school age is pretty much where I don't know what to do with teenagers. So I'm sorry if you're on here for that. I unfortunately cannot help you. But we're going to look at the whys, the learn how, and how to change those behaviors. We're going to go into steps to positive discipline. So we use the word discipline in terms of redirection. It's not discipline. There is no hitting. There's no punishment in terms of timeouts and things like that. We don't believe in that. Developmentally, it's not appropriate for children to be put in those situations, and it's not okay. So if that's something that you do and you love to learn how not to do it and other tools to use, I am here to support you and help you. We're going to look at the different steps of self-control, the consistency and expectation, praise, and then redirection and bribery and modifying the environment. Those are all things that we're going to cover. And then we're going to end with the 6 steps to conflict resolution. So I've used the 6 steps forever, and I use them with my own children. So it's interesting to see how it works and the logic behind it. Because once you break it down, it's really great as a parent to be able to have that tool. It calms you before you explode, and you don't want to get to that point of exploding, because that's where the power struggle comes in and nobody wins on that. So I am going to share my screen with you. I know I'm still new to this. So when my screen is shared, and for everyone who's on Instagram right now, this will obviously only work on Zoom. So like I said, jump on and join us if you'd like. But I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to go over everything together. I'm not going to be able to see your comments on Zoom, but if there is anything, Angie and Sylvia, pop out of mute if you can. I believe Sylvia can, and let me know, okay? So I know you guys can still see me. I'm not going to keep it as a full presentation, just because I want you guys to see what I see, and I want to be able to see everyone. Actually, I can. Who are we kidding? Okay, let's just go for it. We're gonna go for it. Okay. If it lets me. There we go. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so like I said, we're doing behavior and redirection. So these are tools and techniques to help guide you and your child to positive behavior through positive discipline. It sounds like such a funny term, positive discipline, but I promise you, as soon as we start explaining it a little bit, it'll make sense. I skipped over the overview just because we went through it together, but we are going to go over the stages of development like I mentioned. So we'll start with infant. We're just going to jump right in. You guys are welcome to message and write down the ages of your children, just because I'd love to know if there's specific ages that we're looking at, because every age comes with some really fun little tricks and tips. So infants are very curious about everything. Like, they're constantly testing their environments. They're full of emotions. Infants in general, and we're talking about children that are at like 6 weeks up to technically 18 months, but in reality, we notice that the infant stages 2 to 4, perfect, 2 and 4. So infant stages starts to kind of dwindle off when they're getting closer to 13, 14 months. And then like by 18 months, they're in the full out toddler stage. So when we're talking about infants, we are talking about the younger ones, and up to like 13 months, 14 months. They're very interested in exploring their environment. They do not have words yet, so they're trying to express their needs. I find that at this stage, it's really easy for us to figure out exactly what they need, because it's easier at the beginning of their crying. They're either hungry, so they need a bottle, they need breast milk, they need to be fed, they need a diaper change, they need to sleep. Like, that's pretty much it. And then as soon as you start to get into the next developmental stages, they're trying to explore more. You start talking to them more when you're carrying them around and things like that. So the reason why we started infant development, hi Sherry, thank you, 3 and 6, amazing. The reason that we started infant development is because there's things that you can do right from the get-go that really support your child in being able to manage themselves, which sounds kind of crazy, but the biggest thing you can do is by giving them the chance to explore. The more that they get to experience and explore at a young age, the more they're gaining in terms of knowledge. Also talking to them. We encourage a lot of talking with your children in full sentences. We don't encourage the baby talk, but like, obviously you're not going to ask them about quantum physics. Like, let's be realistic, but we do label things to ensure that the kids are understanding what we're talking about, and things are called specific things. Like, this is a pen, this is a cup, it's things like that. We do that because as soon as you give them that, you're building their blocks for when there's going to be conflict later. So as soon as they get into the next stage, which is toddler, they're going to be able to express themselves more because you've given them the language to start. If you don't label things for your children and read books and do all those wonderful things for them at the beginning, they're not going to have those words to be able to express themselves in the next stage. So that's really tricky. Using words to describe how they feel. Oh, I see that you're sad, honey. What do you need? Even if they can't answer you, you know what they need. So it's really important that you take that into consideration when they're that young. But if you haven't, and you're just like, Katryn, I did not read to my children, and honestly, it happens, it's fine. I'm sure most of you have read to your children at least once or twice, but encouraging that language is really big for the first step of that development. When you get into the toddler stage, so you've already passed the infant stage, you're getting into the 18 months, this is when the struggles start. So they're starting to become super independent. Any of you who have a child who is 18 months to 2.5, okay, 18 months to like, I'm going to assume till they're teenagers, this is when it starts. So this is when you're going to see that stretch of independence, that coping with frustration, the lack of self-control because they just don't quite have that skill to yet. They play with other children. They don't directly play with them. At this stage, they're doing a really great job of parallel play. So they watch what the other child's doing. They might play on the other side. Those are all developmental characteristics. There's a huge saying that most ECEs, if not all ECEs, know, and they comment about how there's something called a toddler creed. If it's yours, it's mine. If it's mine, it's mine. If I see it, it's mine. If you were holding it, it's mine. If I want it, it's mine. So it's the concept that they are very egocentric and it's mine, 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 mine. And that's okay. But it's really important that because they have a harder time making that transition and processing, it's super important for us to give them extra time to make a transition and provide them with warnings. Like, a lot of behaviors can be avoided just by providing them with a heads up. Consistency is huge for children, no matter the age. Consistency is huge for adults. Like, I don't want to know last minute that things are changing for me in my life or work or things like that. Like, we go with the flow because we've got 30, 35, 40 years of experience going with the flow. But in every single workshop I do, I always stop and remind you guys that these little humans have been on this earth for, 365 days plus. They've been on this earth for less than 1,000 days. And a lot of them have been on this earth for most of COVID. Like, we got to give them a little bit of credit and some slack to say, you haven't been around that long to be able to manage those really big emotions yet. So let me help you. That's our job as parents. They say no a lot. Toddlers say no like crazy. Post a comment in whatever chat you are if your toddler says no to you all the time. I just love to tally it because that would be something to count. They have tantrums. This is like the first time you see those fun tantrums. So it's the famous child laying on the floor, arms are wailing, legs are kicking, tantrum is happening. That's when it starts. So they need that time to go over and understand what's happening with their bodies. So they can act out by biting or hitting. So a big reason why we see that behavior is because they don't have the words to express what they need yet. And they're also, like we noticed, they're very quick to jump to things. They're very impulsive. Toddlers are super, super impulsive. So they might act out by biting or hitting. They might have difficulty sharing toys or other things. So what can we do? Starting to teach right from wrong. That's important. You have to redirect the behavior as soon as it happens. That's vital in order to ensure that the kids are learning. That's our job as parents, to teach, to learn. You're going to give them quiet activities to calm down. Okay, so when we start at the beginning and I said we're going to teach them right from wrong with redirection, you can say, Katryn, the word redirection doesn't really make sense to me. Can you please explain it? I can do that. So the idea of redirection is providing them with something to support that outlet. So I want you guys to look at the behavior that your child's doing. Divide, like remove your kid from the equation. I know it sounds crazy, but remove your child from the equation and focus on the behavior itself. So if your child is hitting, so it could be that they don't have the words to express themselves yet, and that's okay. But it's the idea of providing them with something to hit instead. And you're like, Katryn, that sounds crazy. But I need you to understand that they need the repetition to be able to change what they're doing and readjust it into another way. So you have to support them and say, ouch. That's so important. You need to label the emotion. So if your child is hitting you, ouch has to happen. So, ouch. You have to get them to understand that that hurts. So that hurts your brother, that hurts your sister, that hurts mommy. Ouch, that hurts. And then we use gentle hands is always a really great way because they can make the connection with that. You need to have your trigger sentence that you have ready to go, because as soon as you have that sentence, they're going to follow through with it because they know what's coming next when you're always saying the same thing. Ouch, that hurts. We use gentle hands and then redirect them to something that they can hit if they're angry. If you're angry, we hit the pillow. We don't hit mommy. That hurts. So that's a really simple way to start with toddlers. And you can say, Katryn, that sounds really great, but in reality, how do I implement that? It's changing us, guys. A lot of it is giving yourself that second to be calm and redirecting it with that sentence. The worst is if we just like react. We can't react to those things because we can't react in a negative way or punish them because they're not hitting you to be mean. They're little. They're doing it because they want what you have, or they want what their brother has, or they're pulling their hair because that's what they want. So you have to divide that behavior. It's huge. Remove them from the situation. You also can't reason with a toddler. If any of you have reasoned with a toddler regarding something that they want and succeeded, bravo, because that is not, I'm going to say that is like a 60-40 right there. That 60% of the time, there's no way you can reason with them because that concept of law, it doesn't exist. So don't try. As soon as you sit and try, you're going to become more frustrated, which elevates their frustration. And then you get into the power struggle all over again. Avoid that power struggle. And a big thing is not requiring your child to share toys. And you'd be like, okay, Katryn, what do you mean don't tell my kids to share their toys? Okay, I'm not saying tell them to hoard everything and be incredibly mean about it, but I want you to process it. A child is playing with a toy. As soon as someone comes in their play, they are engaged, they are busy, and someone goes to take something and they lose it, obviously, because if somebody came to me as an adult and took something that I was using, I would lose it too. So process it like that for these kids that's warranted. They should be upset. They are in the middle of doing what they're doing. So rather than saying, "Oh no, share with Joey. You need to share your toys with Joey." Absolutely not at that moment. But a really great thing to say is, when you're done, give Joey a turn. And you help Joey say, okay, I'm going to say Roman because that's my toddler. Well, he's preschool now. Roman, when you're done, can I have a turn? And then Roman will say yes because it's just what they do. They're very good like that. And toddlers' attention span does not last very long. So they're going to be done with that toy relatively soon. And then it's your job to redirect it and say, okay, remember, if you're done with your toy, Joey wants it. And they'll go over, give it to Joey. Joey will say thank you. And you've completed the wonderful circle. That is if you guys get nothing else from this whole chat, and I'm looking at 3 screens of myself, which is weird, but if you get nothing else, take away that information. The concept of asking a child when they're done if they can have a turn. And that's going to be the biggest thing. When you're done, can I have a turn with that toy? And redirect it to the child to say, when I'm done, you can have a turn. But you as an adult need to complete the cycle and make sure that there's an ending to it. I love that. It has diminished and diffused probably 86% of fights in my house with my 3 children because You're allowing them to keep control of their activity. And usually that's what the fight is about, something that they have that the other one wants. So you're allowing them to keep control of the activity. You're teaching the other child to wait their turn, and you're completing the cycle that they're providing to them when they're done, which is fair. And always give a warning ahead of time to make a change. So, a huge thing for any child, like I mentioned, is anticipating what's happening next. It's important. You need to be able to provide them with the information ahead of time. It's 10 more minutes. We're going to be leaving the house in 10 minutes. Now we're down to 5 minutes. You have to get your shoes in 2 minutes. Like, the concept of time is whoosh, over their head, absolutely gone. But it's really important that you recognize that they're understanding that there's steps. So supporting them in those steps is the most important thing. Toddlers probably one of the trickiest developmental areas in terms of behavior. That's why I spend the most time on it, because they don't have the words to express themselves yet. It's the hardest for anyone to know exactly what to do with a toddler because they don't really know what they want. They get frustrated. In turn, we get frustrated and it explodes. So doing those steps of the what you can do. So anyone who's on Instagram who can't see my screen, it gives you those steps like I just talked about. Supporting them with redirection, giving them quiet and calm activities, removing them from the situation. But the biggest thing is that sentence of, when you're done, so and so wants a turn, and supporting them to say yes. And if your kid says no, then you can choose to put a timer on for 2 minutes. Okay, well, in 2 minutes, you're going to be done. Sometimes you have to help them along. It's a thing. All right. Is there any questions about toddler development and behavior? I'm going to go into behaviors a little bit more, but if there are questions, just shout out, message, let me know. I'm sure I'll find it somewhere. I can keep the chat handy. Preschool development. Preschool is a lot of fun. Toddler's my favorite age because they are the trickiest, and I think I like the challenge. But preschool is fantastic because they start telling you everything, and you really start developing those genuine, deep relationships with children when they hit that age. They have learning expectations. They can express everything in words now. They enjoy playing with other children. They understand the idea of choices. But because they start to understand so much more, that turns around on us, because when they understand so much more, the expectation is even higher. The follow through is even more important. The limits are tested even more. They have friends. It starts to become a thing. But what you need to do as a parent, because you've already been doing it from the infant stage and the toddler stage, you're building up on it with setting those rules and expectations. It's the same every day. Bedtime needs to be the same every day. Eating time needs to be relatively the same every day. They need to be able to anticipate their nighttime routine so that they're managing the evenings. Like, those are things that we need to do as parents. And it's a really big sacrifice and it's really hard. But like I mentioned, they're little and they thrive on that environment. They thrive on anticipating what's next. All three of my children are upstairs sleeping in bed. I have an 18-month-old, actually she's almost 2, an almost 3-year-old, and an almost 5-year-old. And 6:30 she goes to sleep, and at 7:30 the boys go to sleep. It's not always easy, but I know that because they can manage on their own and they have that comfort, they're okay. And that's just from being consistent. That's it. And it's really hard to do it at the beginning, but I'm telling you, if you start it and work at it, they're not going to know any different. And then it becomes the norm for them. A follow through is really important, guys. This is the biggest thing when you're talking about preschoolers is following through. So unfortunately, it's the idea of saying what you mean and doing what you say. And that's really, really hard. So you have to take that second and make a decision of what you're going to say and your plan before it comes out of your mouth, because you can't eat those words. And I have had it where my husband looked at my son who refused. He was 4, this was over the winter, refused to put his snowsuit on or his boots on to go outside. And we were walking out the door. And he said, if you don't, you're going outside with no shoes on and you'll walk through the snow. And my son said, guess I'm walking through the snow. And he looked at me and I'm like, you have to follow through because you're compromising it. So the second that that boy put one foot outside and his foot got full of snow, he said, "Okay, I think I'm ready for my boots now." And it's like, "Oh, okay, perfect. So let's put them on and I'm going to get you a new sock because yours is clearly wet. And maybe next time we put our boots on right away." So it's really important to follow through, but also make a plan before you say it because, like I said, you can't eat those words. Provide them with choices. So you also have to recognize that a lot of the things that these kids want to do uh, are because they have that own autonomy now. Like they're very aware of what they want, and you respect that with these little kids that they're following through on what they want and they're making their own choices, and that's great because you're creating independent little people. The issue is when they want to do something that's just not in the books, and that's where the power struggle comes in. But there's always a choice. So as a parent, you've been around for an incredibly long time. Okay, we're not ancient. Like, well, I don't know. Some of you might be. I have no idea. I'm not ancient, um, and I haven't been around for that long. But um, there's still always a choice. I have to be able to think of an alternative for these children and for something for them to do. So if my son is having a meltdown, let's say because he doesn't want to get dressed in the morning, so it's going to be the idea where I give you the option to get dressed on your own or I can help you. He doesn't want me to help him. So he needs to get dressed on his own. And if he can't do that, then in turn, I will help him. You always have to have an expectation, and then you always have to have the result after that expectation of what's next. So think of that before you do anything. There's always another option. Oh, I don't want to eat out of the red plate, or I only want the red plate. That's things that you end up seeing with these preschoolers that, okay, they're starting to make those wonderful choices and decisions and giving you a hard time and sulking about it. Those are not things that you need to um there's a fine line between giving in all the time and keeping your sanity. So it's really important as a parent that you're processing sanity is important, but you cannot give into them all the time because the second you do, that becomes the expectation. But utilize that in your best interest to say, okay, I will switch your plate, but I expect you to eat everything off of it if you'd like a different plate today. But I am not switching your plate tomorrow. Or say, then it's your turn to set the table. Provide them with that. Say, if you want to choose your plate for the evening, you need to set the table so that you can choose your plate. That's fine by me. So process as a parent what you can do instead of having that power struggle. And that specifically is for preschool development. I'm going to just pause for a second because I want to check the chat. Oh, every day. Grace is 22 months. So I'm just following up quickly. I'm Marion, he's 17 months. Okay, so we have 17 months, 3.5. Grace is 22 months. Heriel. Yeah, okay. So we've got everyone's ages. If anyone on our Instagram would like to pop in with their ages, just so I can have a heads up. It sounds like most of them are in the younger childcare age stage. So these are perfect. So we're figuring out the preschoolers, we're figuring out the infants and things like that. But I'd always love to know. So when we're done with preschool development, does anyone have questions about that concept of their development from infant all the way up to preschool? Okay, we're going to zip into school age really quick, but my computer doesn't want to let me. There we go. School age, they're becoming more social. They're in control. They're willing to please others, and they're learning different ways to cope with frustration. I'm sorry, my nose is incredibly itchy tonight. But there's still rules. You still have to provide the rules. Busy Liddy, you're 33 and her son is almost 3. Perfect. Thank you, Busy. So we've got another 3-year-old. So we're all managing the same chaos, guys. This is fantastic. Because honestly, I really want you guys, you're welcome to share stories to know that we are all going through this. Your child and my child have all had a crying fit because their socks don't match, even though every other day their socks don't match. So why is it an issue today? It's something that we deal with as parents. But back to school age development, they learn different ways to cope with frustration. Like I said, they're very sensitive to criticism as soon as they're in that age. But it's the same across the board, guys. You're starting with consistency and rules and consequences. But the difference is that you're not doing consequences like sitting in a timeout, going to your room. You're providing them with actual consequences based on their actions. If you don't eat your dinner, there's no food after. It's as simple as that. And they might have that big giant fit, and that's okay, because when it comes down to it, the next time they're going to say, okay. Now, and I will recall my mother, if I didn't eat my dinner, okay, I've always eaten my dinner, but let's say my brother didn't eat his dinner, because that sounds more logical. If he didn't have his dinner and it was waiting for him, mom would warm it up a few hours later and he can have that before he's having any snacks, because then we're figuring out that the snacks is a big thing, and they start to kind of veer towards that and raid the cabinets. But they didn't have the salmon that you made for dinner and the rice and the veggies. They would like all the bear paws in the world. So stopping that behavior is huge. So you're starting it all the way from infant all the way up to preschool and building that foundation block. It's a little bit trickier when you're starting to dive in to the development when they're older, because then a lot of patterns have been put into place, and it's harder to change. But I'm telling you, consistency, give yourself 2 weeks of straight consistency and you're going to see changes. They might be small changes, but you're going to see them. Be prepared for changing behaviors and mood as your child grows. I feel that every time we get into a really great rhythm, something changes developmentally for one of them, and we're starting all over again. So know that we are all in that boat. But if you redirect yourself as a parent and continue to follow the additional rules that we put into place of the consequences, the consistency, the constant anticipation of what's happening next, like giving them those schedules so that they feel like they know what's happening next, you're going to see a huge change in them, in how they act on their own and how they cope with things. Okay, so I know what they do, but how do I change it? So it's important to process that we're very aware of what they do. I know every single behavior that my child does. I'm very aware of the things that drive me crazy. I'm very aware of the things that are incredibly cute. I'm aware of it all. But how do I change it? So understanding that it's not going to happen overnight. That's the biggest thing. Like there is no, same with potty learning that I've done, like the workshop that we did last week. It's the same idea that it's not going to change overnight. These are tools. They're just not solutions. And each child is different. So for instance, I have a very sensitive 2-year-old, almost 3. He is a lot more sensitive. He doesn't take redirection as fast as his brother. He tends to cry and need a hug more because I feel that he thinks he's doing something wrong when he's not. Whereas my older one is like, takes redirection like a champ and is like, yeah, okay, let's do this, and is good with everything. So you know your child, you've had them since they were born and you held them in your arms, and you know that little person and the things that sets them off. So follow with that. But they're all different. And like I said, what works for one is not going to work for your other. So beautiful 422, she has a 2-year-old, and your eldest is going to be 4 in May. So you are smack dab in the middle of this, my dear. And that's going to be big for you, understanding that what works for one doesn't work for the other. So steps to positive discipline. I don't know if you guys know who Barbara Coloroso is. So any ECEs in this chat should know who she is. She is a huge, huge book. She's got a ton of books that have been out since the 80s and have been revamped and revamped and revamped. And she has new ones coming out all the time. So I love this quote that our children are counting on us to provide 2 things: consistency and structure. Children need parents who say what they mean what they say, and do what they say they're going to do. It is as simple as that, guys. Say what you mean what you say, and do the things that you say you're going to do. Follow through, because as soon as you do that, They understand that that's it. It is what it is, and that's it. And you feel bad for them because when you have instances where you stray away from it, and where you have instances where you're not, um, you let it go. Okay, I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to let it go. And then suddenly you're really tough on them one time and they cry about it and you get so angry. These poor kids have like done that every other time and gotten what they want. Why suddenly this time is mom or dad getting so upset at me and putting me in a timeout because they're frustrated? So process that it's not really fair to them. Being as consistent as you can gives them the understanding that you're gonna do what you say you're gonna do, even if that means they're stepping outside with socks on in the middle of winter because they said they wanted to. So you got to follow through. So be aware that the words that come out of your mouth maybe make it an easier follow through so that you don't have to send them outside with no shoes on. But it is what it is. And you have to follow through as hard as it is. So looking at the instance where my child is hitting his or her siblings. So are they looking for your attention? Process what happened earlier that day. My very first thing I do when my eldest, who's going to be 5, is having a really, really rough afternoon, I asked my husband, I'm like, how was his day at school? And he goes, I didn't hear anything that was off. And I'm like, hmm. Or my 2-year-old or 3-year-old has a really like he's a very emotional that night. He did not have a nap at school that day. And you can anticipate what's going to happen based on that. If they come home and they didn't have a ton of afternoon snack or they're starving, there's a lot of crying until a snack is given to these children. So like it's the cues that they provide us that their fuse is short because they're hangry. So feed them. like but they can't tell you that the reason why they're yelling and lashing at you is because they're hungry. So get those basic needs met, and then you can see if there's another thing that might be bothering them. So ask yourself what was happening before. See what triggered why they're acting this way. And process what correction you can make as a parent to satisfy your child's need. I'm going to stop for a second, jump into the chat. That broke. Oh, it's mostly Mrs. Angie. Tim Angela's son is 2.5, 4.5. Okay, perfect. So we have great ages here. So everything that I'm covering for all of you so far seems to be within that age range, which is fantastic because then I know I'm giving you guys the information that you need. So focus on controlling you and not your child. Katryn, what do you mean? No, I know it sounds crazy, but seriously, you can't control them. Like they are little human beings. Like they are not meant to be controlled. They are meant to be supported. They are meant to be redirected, but you can like get them to do things that you need them to do. Like if you need 20 minutes of quiet, if you watched one of my other activity things, I can tell you how to do that, but you can't control them. They're individuals. Don't forget that you're the ultimate model and you emulate everything for them. So you should not do anything in front of your child that you do not want them to do. Yelling is the hardest. Our voice gets raised all the time because sometimes you're just like, I need to talk over them for them to hear me. Stopping yourself from that is hard, but there's ways to do it. So paying attention to your voice tone, counting to 10 and taking that breath, simply just walking away, tag team another parent or guardian if you have one. That's like, I can't do it. There have been nights where we've put the kids down to bed and for some reason one of them keeps running out like at the game, which I'm sure all of you have managed before. I don't know if maybe they extra napped at daycare that day or had an extra boost of espresso in their tiramisu. I have no idea, but regardless, they are very excited that they want it to be daytime and not nighttime anymore. And sometimes you just have to tag team the other person and be like, I've done that. I'm done. And that gives you the opportunity to simmer down and calm down, and then they can jump back in if you need to tag team again. Utilize that to your advantage. Simply walk away, like I said. Sometimes it's as simple as, oh no, you've thrown your dinner, you're showing me that you're all done, and then they get a choice. Either they can sit down and have their dinner or they're all done because that's what they're showing you. If a temper tantrum follows, then give them space until they calm their bodies. That is the biggest thing you can do. You have to let them So it's that expression of flipping your lid. So someone explained it to me that it's actually what physically happens in your mind. Like your neutrons go nuts and you flip your lid. Like you have to put that lid back on in order for those emotions to slowly calm down. And sometimes you just have to give them that space to put them in a safe area to let them calm down before you can have the rational discussion. And that's for preschool, that's for infant, like that's for any of them. You have to be in a calm state to have the conversation, because not being in a calm state, nobody is listening to each other when that's happening. But it's really important to remind them that I love you. I don't like what you're doing. So make sure that you always divide your child from the behavior, because you don't want them to think that what they're doing is bad and connecting it to themselves and having that ouch feeling. You really want it to be not them, the behavior. So label it like that for them, because it does make a big difference for them. It seems like such tweaks in how you say things, but it means the world to them. And then jumping into the positive discipline, be consistent with what you expect, waiting it out and saying, okay, guys, it's just a phase. It's going to pass. It's fine. Don't worry. They'll get over it. No, no, no. It's not okay. You have to get them to understand that it's not okay. And you have to redirect them to something that's okay and the consequences that you have to follow through on. So, what do? Consistency, like I said, set expectations from the beginning, like I said, redirect your child from the undesirable behavior and provide them with an alternative. Okay, so that's saying if they're kicking, provide them with something to kick. Always have that soccer ball handy. If you have a child who bites, it happens, guys. It's okay. Provide them something to bite. They could have molars coming in. Their mouth could hurt. You don't know why they're doing it. But like, you don't need to scold them for something like that when they're not doing it to be malicious. They're little. And some kids are malicious, don't get me wrong. But then those are different circumstances, and that's the next level. That might be another thing of redirection with really tricky children. But if they don't like the alternative, then proceed with the tantrum. So that's kind of your cycle. You provide them with the option. If they don't like it, they're going to have a tantrum. So there's going to be two ways. You're going to provide them with the options of what to do. They could go this way or this way. They're going to say, I'm not doing any of it. Then they're going to have a giant meltdown on the floor, and you're going to move them to a carpet. So when they do flail and wail, they're okay. And then when they calm down, you say, okay, now that you're ready, these are your two options. And they will either have a meltdown again, or they'll pick an option. If they have a meltdown again, I'd let them have two meltdowns and come back. Usually by then they're like, okay, mom's not giving up on this one. I better choose an option. Two options. And if they say no, then you can say, okay, you can choose one of these two options, or I will choose for you. And then they're just like, she didn't choose for me. I don't want to choose for me. I don't make the choice for myself. And suddenly, when they're sitting there thinking, okay, she's going to choose for me, I want to choose, then you get that right back where they're like, okay, I'm going to do this one. You're like, love it. That's a great choice. They get ready, they're good, and everyone's happy. And then 10 minutes later, it's going to happen again. So when it's toddlers, it's going to happen again. And that's okay, because it gets easier as they get, well, they get quicker at it as they get older. They realize that you're only giving them two options and that's it. So take it or leave it thing, which is kind of nice. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. They always talk about breaking the cycle, but in reality, I think the cycle breaks itself. I'm going to take a quick second and see if there's questions. I see a comment about beautiful 422. Agree. When I'm hot-headed, I have to remove myself and then go back and hug them and address what happened. That seems to work and keeps them calm. Hug it out. You're right. When in doubt, hug it out. I love that. And it gives everyone a second to regroup and really talk about the root of what's wrong. So that's when you hug it out. And then if they're not eating their dinner, let's say, or they won't refuse to pick up their toys, it's the idea that we can't leave all of our toys on the floor. That's not taking care of our toys. We need to put them away. Let's do it together. Let's make a game out of it. Things like that to make it a bit more easygoing. Chat on Zoom. Okay, so children that throw themselves on the ground. So depending on their age, Ashley, that might be tricky. So when you have a child that throws themselves on the ground, you have to do the ABCs of what's happening prior to. Why are they throwing themselves on the ground? Are they doing it for some type of attention? Are they toddlers? So developmentally, that's what they do. Arms out, hands out, this is what they get. I need a little bit more background as to what they're doing. But in reality, if they're older than a toddler, you just move them over to where they can have that tantrum and say, let me know when you're done. Because a preschooler throwing themselves on the ground for that reason, there's no reason for that. That tells me that if they're doing that at that age, that means that it wasn't addressed when they were toddlers. And chances are they got what they want by throwing themselves on the ground. So you just have to provide them with that space and say, when you're ready, I'm here to talk to you. So we can revisit that if you have a bit more detail. You're welcome to send me a quick message and we can look into that. But providing them with the safe space, I'm assuming, Ashley, are you a teacher or are you a parent? If you're a teacher, I'm going to suggest providing them with a space if they're a preschooler that or a JK, any of those ages, and set the expectation. So when you're done, we can talk about this. But prior to that, if they're that old and doing that, and you're a teacher, then it's going to be what you do in your classroom that sets the tone for your expectations with that child. Okay, so give praise when praise is due and give attention to the behavior you like, not the ones you don't. So like I just said to Ashley, who had the comment about throwing themselves on the floor and having that giant big tantrum, don't give them attention for a behavior that doesn't warrant attention. Chances are if they continue to do it, it's because they're being given the attention that they're requiring or needing. And you can be kind about it. Say, when your body's ready and you need a hug, we can have a hug and then we can talk about it. So give them, depending on the child, if they need that love to know that it's okay, then it's fine. But always follow up with those same things. Have the steps in hand and follow through with those steps every time, because you have to be that semi-broken record. I don't mean in terms of speech, but in action, because your actions speak so much louder than the words that you're saying to these children. So by doing that and doing those steps, you're allowing them to say, okay, mom or Miss Ashley isn't going to give up on this because she never does. And I can't act this way in this classroom. So it's going to be the same thing if you were a parent. Then you say, okay, mom's not going to give up on this because I can't act this way in the house. It's the same idea. You have to set the expectations. If they don't know the expectations, they can't follow through on it. Children really love being praised. They want to do well. They just don't know how just yet. And when you see great behaviors, it's so important to acknowledge it. It doesn't matter their age. If they're having a tantrum, walk away. They'll approach you when they're calm and there's a better way to communicate. But don't be overexcited about it and don't patronize them. They're not stupid. They know, and be genuine when it's like, I am really proud of the way that you're acting. I'm so proud that you were able to go to sleep on your own last night, and bring it back. Always bring it back to, oh, you guys had such a great night. How was your sleep? Things like that, and praise them for it when you know it was good. I think we've done that with our kids since they were in the infant stages. And my 5-year-old wakes up every morning and he asks me how my sleep was. And I'm like, it was okay, thanks. How was yours? But like, they become little big kids. When I get home from work, he's like, Mommy, how is your day? Just the fact that you're creating something with empathy for someone else is an amazing attribute. But you do that um, by praising them where praise due, not randomly all the time. So let's try this. You're busy making dinner and your child is sitting quietly at the table coloring. After the shock subsides, what do you do? What does it even mean? What do you do when your child is sitting quietly at the table coloring? Um, I'm curious to see what would you guys do? I think most people would just continue on making dinner because it's quiet for 5 seconds. That's a great opportunity to give them that hug and say, I love the way that you're coloring, and I love that you're so quiet while I'm making dinner. I appreciate you giving mommy that time so that I can get this done. What? So for a second, you sat there and you're just like, oh, I don't need to say anything because good, they're quiet, I'm quiet, everyone's happy. Acknowledge how great they're doing. Give them that praise because praise is totally due. That's really important. So the steps to positive discipline, like we said, is redirect, redirect, redirect. What? So no, don't touch that. Don't stand on your chair. Don't push your brothers. Stop running in the house. The couch is not for jumping. Oh my God, I don't even want to listen to myself. How often are you saying no, stop? Do you find it constantly? Constantly, no, stop, no, stop. Stop telling them what they can't do and tell them what they can. That's something that my mother has said to me since, oh my gosh, I can remember. And my mother's on here. She's the CEO of Angelic Treasures Christian Daycare. And she's a genius when it comes to children. And I'm so proud to get my information from her because my tips and tricks were from my education, but the hands-on experience was 1,000,000% through her and watching her um, run Angelic Treasures. So she always says, don't tell them what I can't do. Tell me what I can do for the kids. Tell them what they're allowed to do. So instead of saying, you can change a negative into a positive. It can go two ways. Do what they can do, or they're going to have a tantrum. So that's the best part. We've had this conversation. So when my child is standing on the chair, instead of saying, don't stand on the chair, all they hear is the word chair again. They're toddlers, they're preschoolers, chair. Okay, cool. So I'm doing something with the chair, check. So instead of doing that, tell them what they can do. Chairs are for sitting, sit on the chair. I hear someone in the background. But that's really important. So it's the idea of tell me what I can do. You can sit on the chair. And if they say no, and you take them off the chair because chairs are for sitting, they're going to have a tantrum. And what do you do when they have a tantrum? We know this. You remove them from the situation. You let them calm down. They come back. You give them two options. Chairs are not for standing. Chairs are for sitting. Do you want to sit on the chair or are you all done? Those are their two options. They're going to either sit on the chair or they're going to proceed in the meltdown. There's our cycle back to the meltdown area. Let them calm down. Okay, they come back. Chances are they're going to sit or they're going to go find something else to do because you cannot stand on the chair. It's not safe. It's for sitting. It's as simple as that. But they're both positive ways to fix it. You're staying calm. So it's crazy because you're suddenly in control the entire time. Even though like it's about to spiral out of control, you remain in control the whole time by going through that cycle in your head of, okay, I know what to do when they have a tantrum. I can just remove them, let them calm, and then they can come back and we can talk about it again. And then sometimes they're going to come back and say, let's stand. And you're just like, I know chairs are so for sitting. Like we can't stand on them. You could fall, you can get hurt. We don't want anyone getting hurt. They're for sitting. Okay. Okay, perfect. Let's hug it out and we can sit on our chair. Beautiful. Anything else works that way. Get yourself into that cycle. It works that way. It's the best thing ever. I love that. When as soon as you get into that mind state and you get to the point where the kids get into that cycle and you need to redirect them, it is so great for you to have that feeling of not flipping your lid. It's the concept of being in full control with having no control because you know there's only two ways it could go. There's the concept of they're going to have that tantrum and that's okay. And I know how to get them out of it, or they're going to listen to what I'm asking them to do and redirecting them in a positive way. So that's the best part. As soon as you can get yourself there, you're golden in terms of parenting and redirection. And when we're getting into the concept of bribing, oh, guys, don't bribe them. Offering a child a reward, it just sends mixed messages. It teaches negative behaviors. They're continuing to do that undesirable behavior, and the bribes are going to get bigger. You're going to be getting your 6-year-old a minivan. by the time it's all said and done, because it's going to start as an M&M, then it's going to turn into 2 M&Ms because one wasn't enough. It's going to snowball. You're going to get them a minivan. So I'm going to tell you to ease it back and get yourself back so that you're investing in them and you're not investing in candy. The best reward a child can have is spending some extra time with you. Let them have the tantrum, give them their moment of space, and reward the calm behavior by a bit of one-on-one time. So don't give them a candy when they're behaving. Give them that hug, give them that praise, give them what they need, because that's when you're going to get it back in return, which is the best thing ever. Minivan. I know you like that one, right? Okay. Oh, by the way, so everyone who's sitting on here is going to be able to enter to win our giveaway. And I'm excited to share what our giveaway is. I am going to share it after the next slide and you guys can enter. So it's going to be for all of our Instagram followers that are on right now, as well as our Zoom meeting followers, and you guys will be able to comment what I'm going to tell you to comment in a couple of minutes. So I hope you guys comment and stay on so that you can win this wonderful parenting prize, because I absolutely adore it. Okay, so back to steps to positive discipline is modifying the environment. You're like, Katryn, what do you mean? Okay, I'm not changing my house for my children. Okay, it's not as crazy as that, I promise. It's the idea that now you've pointed out what the causes of the issue and you can fix it. So, for example, there's 2 children and there's 1 toy. You have 2 options before anything even starts. You're going to plan. Let's plan before it happens. They're going to fight over the toy because there's 1 toy and 2 kids. Like that's common sense. And they might even hate this toy, but just because one wants it or is using it, the other one's going to want it. It's game over. So you have 3 options. 1, you remove the toy and nobody gets it. You know what? Honestly, some days that's a really fair option. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes you're just like, this is going to go away for a while until I'm ready to mentally manage this because it's going to blow up. 2, you can incorporate a timer and allow each to take turns. That's the simplest way. I always have a timer around for potty learning and things like that, so it's easy to have close by. 3, you can run out and buy them a second version of it. That is a grandmother's result of how to do that. They will always buy 2 of everything for the kids. I'm not going to recommend that because that's crazy. But I'm a timer person. I'm also a let so-and-so know when you're done. Like I mentioned before, that is by far my favorite thing because they are in control of giving it to them when they're finished. And if not, then you can incorporate the timer. But have the plan before. Have a way out of it before it even happens to give yourself the calm before the storm that's about to happen, because it's a guaranteed storm. Okay, so before we go into the 6 steps of conflict resolution, I am going to tell you guys what and I don't have it on me. Oh, and it's gonna, okay, I'm just gonna unshare my screen for a really quick second. And I am going to, all right, share my screen again now. So for those of you on Zoom, those of you on Zoom are going to be able to see this. Those of you on, hold on one quick second. Those of you on Instagram and Facebook are not going to be able to see it, but I'm going to explain it to you. So there's a comment that I made a little bit earlier. It was a quote by a book from Barbara Colarosa. So it was talking about ensuring, oh, I wish I can't have them both up. If you guys were on here, it was a wonderful quote. Just giving you the concept that kids are worth it, and saying what you mean, meaning what you say, and doing what you say you're going to do. So Barbara Colarosa has been around for a very long time, like I said. This is an older book. It's from April 2010, but everything inside is incredibly relevant and we use it all the time. So it's setting those expectations. There are no quick fixes, and it's sound strategies for supporting their inner discipline and self-confidence and giving them the responsibility. And it's so great. So that book, it's called Barbara Coloroso, Kids Are Worth It, is our prize for this evening. And if you guys are close enough to Amazon, as long as Amazon can get to you, I can get it to you as well. So before I answer Tim Angela's question, because I just saw it, you guys can comment anywhere you are. And your comment is going to be great book win. So if you put those 3 words in, great book win, we will generate a winner from that, and you will have it mailed to you from Amazon in the next little bit. So like I said, great book win. So type that in the chat, whether you're on Instagram or whether you're on our Zoom meeting. And I am going to go into Tim and there's so many great book wins now that I can't read Tim and Angela's comment. My toddler gets upset every time he drops one piece of food on the ground and will throw a tantrum and won't continue to eat. Okay, so dropping a piece of food on the ground. Why is he getting upset because he drops it? So what happens, Tim Angela, when you pick it up? Does he get upset when you pick it up? Does he want to get down and pick it up on his own? Is he just distraught because the food fell? Let me know that. And I will be able to tell you guys the winner as soon as we go over the next slide. Mrs. Angie, if you feel like commenting for, oh, okay, he'll continue to eat if I pick it up. Okay, but he won't continue to eat if he picks it up? Or he just has a tantrum about it because his food fell? Man, toddlers are so funny. I think your biggest thing to do is decide your plan of action and be as consistent as you can. If he's going to have a tantrum, just put him aside, let him calm down. His food's there when he's ready. A child's not going to starve himself. If he's hungry, he'll come back and eat. So don't stress about that. And don't even worry about that. Unless your child is low on the body weight scale and that's a concern for the doctors, then regroup. But if he's having a tantrum, follow the same cycle that we always go through. Put him aside, let him have his meltdown. When he's ready, say, your food is here when you're ready to come back. And when you're ready to join us again, and it's here. And make sure that you're commenting on what he's upset about. So I'm going to urge you to like tweak that a little bit and figure out if he's upset because the food's on the floor, or if he's upset because maybe it's dirty, or he wants that piece, or I'm not quite sure why he's upset. So see if you can get to the root of the as to why, and then comment on that for him. I see that you're sad because your food fell on the floor. Label his emotions. It's so important to label them. And it's okay if food falls on the floor all the time. We'll pick it up. We'll clean it up. It's no big deal. When you're calm and ready, you can join us at the table again, and give him those words to understand what's happening. That would be my biggest suggestion. If Mrs. Angie has anything else to comment, you're welcome to type it in. He will continue to eat if I pick it up. He thinks he gets upset because he's making a mistake. Okay, so that's a really big part of removing the child from the behavior. So it sounds like he needs a little bit more cuddles and encouragement to say, don't you worry, food falls on the floor all the time. We're going to pick it up, clean it up, and move on. That is big. I'm going to say no. If mom's making a sad face about it, I doubt that they're getting upset about the food falling. But there's some toddlers that are very innate they don't want, like, they feel bad about it happening. So I can see that too. Okay, Tim, Angela, we're gonna regroup and come back to that one. I'm just gonna do thank you for everyone who entered. I'm so excited. We're going to do our last slide and open it up for questions, and I will let you know who the winner is. No, we don't get upset. Yeah, I think so. Tim, Angela, I'm on it, okay? We're going to come back to that. So I'm going to share my screen one more time just to get us back to, nope, nope, I'm not. Hold on one quick second. My screen is not open. It's still on Barbara Colarosa. By the way, great book. Hope you guys are interested in winning. Here we go. Okay, so many buttons. All right. It's our last slide. It's the 6 steps to conflict resolution. I'm not even going to put it as a big slideshow because you guys are good. You guys are Katryn pros now. You know what I'm all about. So help them problem solve. That's so huge when you have kids. So labeling the problem for them. So identify and define the problem. So I see you're upset because your food fell on the floor. Generate alternate solutions. We can pick it up. We can throw it in the garbage together. Evaluate an alternate solution. So that could be, okay, no, we don't want to do that. Do we want to keep the food? Do we want to throw it in the garbage? Are you ready to eat more? And then make a decision. Okay, we're going to throw out the food. We've got more food. When you're ready, you can join us. Implement that decision. Okay, you're ready? Let's go for it, and follow up to the event. Comment on, okay, oh, remember when your food fell on the floor? You were so sad, but don't worry, food falls on the floor all the time. And remember, bring them back to that. It's okay, it's not a big deal. That 6 steps to conflict resolution works across the board. So I know that we said, and this was at the beginning, if anybody wants my slides, I will gladly share them with you. This is just my knowledge. You're welcome to email us at atcdwebinars@angelictreasuresdaycare.com. Just say, Katryn, send me the slides, and I will, you don't even have to use my name. I think it's on here for spelling. If you guys, you can just say, send me the slides. Hey, lady with the glasses that talks about children, send me your stuff. I don't mind. I'll send it to you. But those steps to conflict resolution, they help across the board. It keeps you calm. It gives you the concept of what needs to happen next. And it provides a solution, and you follow up to make them feel better. That's your job as a parent, is to make sure that at the end of whatever conflict they're going through, they're happy. So that is my slide. That is my presentation. If you guys have any comments, please comment now. I am going to stop sharing my screen, and I am going to tell you who our winner is. And you're welcome to comment below. You're welcome to send a message about your child. And you know what I would love? If you guys have any suggestions on, not suggestions, but anything that you want to learn about, whether it's creative activities to do with your children, things like that, please message it so that we can absolutely make a webinar for it, because I've got 4 more webinars coming up, and I'm excited to share more things with you, but I'd love to do stuff that you're interested in. So before I get to understanding introverts question, okay, this is a good one. I think I got to share it. Okay, what can you do if another child grabs an item from your child and the adult of the other child is not there to address the concern? Ooh, that's an interesting question. Okay, so your job as a parent is not to support other parents in their parenting. Your job is to support your child. So I would absolutely remove your child from the situation and say, that child, from your child, say, they're not ready. Let's find another activity, and remove your child from the situation. I know it's not fun, but if the parent isn't there, you can try to redirect the other child, but honestly, the last thing you need is any type of parent to come in and be like, why are you parenting my child? They can do whatever they want, because they might not feel the same way you do. So you can say, sometimes things aren't fair. Let's find another activity and we'll go play together. And they might have a tantrum and say, I know sometimes it's not fair, but little Jimmy, nobody's helping little Jimmy learn how to share. Let's do something else. Like, just remove yourself from it. That's by far the best thing you can do, because you do not want to be you don't want to manage other people's children. And you know what? In reality, that's a part of life. You have adults that can't manage conversations with each other. You have adults that don't know how to share, who take the last piece of pizza. I saw that on a movie once where they always took the last piece of pizza, and they didn't offer it up to anybody. But like, there's people like that in the world. So help your child learn that there's people like that in the world, and it's going to happen. Okay. I hope that answered your question, understanding introverts. I am just going to pick our winner. You guys, thank you so much for joining me. I absolutely love it. Somebody would like, a workshop on independent sleep and sleep training. I can do that. I can do that. And I'm going to pick our winner. So if you have any other questions, like I said, you're welcome to message. Thank you again for joining us. If you guys stay on for just a minute, I will tell you who our winner is. Ooh, hold on one second. Oh my goodness, so many great. Okay, so I added all the names together and I did a random calculation. J Moms 88, who is following on our Instagram live at Angelic Treasures Daycare, is our winner. Congratulations. So please email me at atcdwebinars, or you can message me right here at the Angelic Treasures Daycare Instagram chat. Congratulations, and you will be getting that shortly in the mail. So I'll stay on for 4 more minutes because it's already 9:15 if anyone has any comments or questions. But if not, thank you guys so much for joining. If you could hop onto our Facebook page or our Google and leave a little review about me, that would be fantastic. And hopefully we'll see you guys next Wednesday. Thank you. I'm going to leave the music on for a little bit in case there's questions. Learn about some art activities for 10 months old. Okay, Tajpreet, I'm on it. Oh, Ayana, are you still there? Your son isn't talking yet? Okay, Ayana, send me a message. We'll get you there. Yeah, they are great books to win. It is a good book. Okay, I think that's it. No more questions. You guys are so welcome. Ayana, like I said, send me a message. I'll probably email you back in the morning, okay? All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.